Hello and welcome to another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Connor Moreno, lead writer for UCLA Bruins on SI. And today, UCLA just went ahead and finished with their 48-10 loss to Ohio State. So I thought today we would go ahead and go through the three kind of bold, but there's the three boldish observations I had from the game. As I do every week, I write about it for UCLA Bruins on SI. So I thought we'd go through those observations and then also kind of briefly look ahead because UCLA's season is pretty much over now. Obviously, there's 2 more games left, but they really have nothing to play for anymore except for pride. So yeah, we're going to go through the game, go through the observations, and kind of look forward to see what UCLA is looking at. So without further ado, let's get into the first observation. But first of all, obviously, UCLA outmatched from the beginning, played against the defending champs. Little wrinkle is that Nico Iamaleava was ruled out ahead of the game because of a concussion. Throughout the entire week, he was showing symptoms, according to Tim Skipper, and on Friday night before the game, they went ahead and ruled him out. So he suffered the concussion against Nebraska in their loss, but these symptoms didn't start showing up until after the game, which is why he didn't leave the Nebraska game. And so ahead of the game, Tim Skipper anointed backup quarterback Luke Duncan as the starter, and that's our first takeaway, which is that he didn't do half bad. I mean, he shook off some early nerves, he had some delay of game issues, wasn't really paying attention to the play clock too much, but he finished his first career start 16 for 23, threw for 154 yards. He also had a touchdown to Quasi Gilmer. It was UCLA's only touchdown of the game. But honestly, one of the bigger takeaways is that, it's like Saturday night, primetime television, nationally televised, against the defending champions in their home stadium. What a way to make your collegiate start, right? I mean, odds stacked against him as they were. I think Duncan wasn't half bad. He just had a handful of possessions that admittedly weren't that great, but once he kind of shook off the clock management woes and once he started getting more comfortable, he did pretty fine. As you watch the game, you could progressively see him become more comfortable in the pocket. He was more decisive. He finished the game with a 140.2 passer rating, which really isn't all that bad. And that's some good momentum to build off for the rest of the season. Considering the severity of Iamaleava's concussion, I'm not too sure if he's going to be playing in the last 2 games. I wouldn't really assume he'd play in the final game. That's just the way I see it. He still has maybe 1 more collegiate season ahead of him, or he's going to go for the draft, which I don't think he should, but we'll talk about that later. So Luke is definitely probably going to get some more run this season, and he looked really good. I think that the playbook was simplified for him, and when he was allowed to pass him, he was kind of allowed to let it sling, because I will say that Jerry Neuheisel, I think, was holding him back a little bit, just because, number 1 team in the nation, it's your first collegiate start, of course you're going to get held back, but I do think that once he was able to kind of show his arm, he did really good. So yeah, Luke Duncan really didn't do too bad. Not too sure how much of a difference UCLA's offense would have made if Nico was there, but I do think that for all the situations, given everything that happened, odds stacked against him, I do think that Luke Duncan didn't do too bad. So that was our first takeaway, and our second takeaway is kind of reflecting on what really this season could have been with UCLA's defense. Now, it's been a common talking point, especially for the second half of the season that I've been talking about, that I've been writing about, is that I do think that UCLA's defense has continuously gotten better week after week, starting that Northwestern game. Starting the game against Northwestern, they held them to 17 points. When Tim Skipper took over, when Kevin Coyle became the de facto defensive coordinator, UCLA has just consistently gotten better on that side of the ball. And, despite kind of these gaudy scoring numbers that they gave up against Indiana and Nebraska, they gave up 56 to Indiana. They gave up, 48 to Ohio State. I think that they've been competing at levels that they hadn't reached early in the season. And you almost have to wonder, if they had been competing the way they are now earlier in the season against Utah, they probably wouldn't have beat Utah, but against the Utahs, against UNLVs, against New Mexico, you could say against Northwestern, but that was kind of the offense's fault that they lost the ball. You got to really think that they would have strung a couple more wins under their belts and won games that they really should have won, and you could probably see them at 4 or 5 wins right now, and they'd be playing for 6 wins at this time of the season. So I just really wanted to reflect on the year, considering that we're almost done with it, and just not only seeing how far UCLA's defense has come, but also what really could have been if UCLA's defense could have, competed at this level since the beginning of the season. So that was our second takeaway. And our third takeaway is kind of bracing everyone for Saturday's Rose Bowl game, which is UCLA's final home game. UCLA has one more home game, and it's kind of bigger than maybe we all think. You have these looming conversations around UCLA moving to SoFi. So given that Saturday could be, UCLA's last home game in the Rose Bowl ever, who knows? I mean, it's certainly looking like it might be, and that's kind of the bigger and broader storyline of the game. But I do think that there are some other smaller storylines that we should really be looking at. Who knows if Nico Iamaleava is coming back next year? Earlier in the season, before the season, he was saying that he wanted this year to be one and done. He wanted to be in and out and go for the NFL draft. Now, the season really hasn't gone how I think anyone thought it would for him. So there's definitely a real chance that he returns for one more season just to get, that one solid season under his belt. Will it be with UCLA? Who knows? So that's another storyline to watch. And unfortunately, as much as I think I've enjoyed it, and as much as I think UCLA fans have enjoyed it, Saturday could also be the last time Tim Skipper is UCLA's head coach in the Rose Bowl. I think he's undoubtedly going to be a college football coach somewhere, but these recent reports coming out and just kind of this mindset that UCLA's decision makers have, I don't think that Tim Skipper is the guy that they're going to anoint head coach, despite kind of this. I mean, it wasn't a probable turnaround at first, but he's also 3-4. But those 3 wins were also huge, and you probably wouldn't have thought anyone could get those 3 wins out of UCLA. So, I mean, maybe his hat will be in the ring along with Jerry Neuheisel, but Saturday will most likely, I think, be Tim Skipper's last time coaching UCLA in the Rose Bowl. And then the week after that, it'll be probably Tim Skipper's last time coaching UCLA at all. So those were just a few storylines I wanted to touch on in my final takeaway from the game. I think in tomorrow's episode we're going to preview basketball's matchup with Sacramento State. If not, we'll probably talk about UCLA's 2 remaining opponents, which are Washington and USC. Just talk about them, how their weeks went, and kind of projecting the season ahead as UCLA prepares to match up against them. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast, and we'll go ahead and see you tomorrow.